Day 2 of our review is material that you actually haven't seen before in our class. You may have seen some of it in middle school. Sometimes this is covered a little bit in middle school. So it doesn't really fit under the whole idea of a review because we haven't covered it in our class. However, this is a good opportunity for us to hit on those items and talk about them since we did lose several days of instruction through the e-learning process and the waiver days. So when you're doing these, have an open mind and be willing to try. Also, before you're doing these problems, you should have watched the 2 videos that I listed for you. The one that was scatter plots is going to show you how to create a scatter plot, which is what I'm going to do for problem number 21, and then you're going to do for problem 22. It's also going to talk a little bit about that correlation, whether it's positive correlation, negative correlation, or no correlation. That is in that video as well. It's also talking a little bit about line of best fit, which again is going to come into play in these practice problems. Then you need to watch the video, which is shorter, on sample bias. So you do need to watch both of those videos before you do these problems. So if you haven't done that yet, stop this video, realize what time it is in the video so you can skip this part when you come back. Go watch those 2 videos and then come back and do your practice problems. Okay, so number 21 gives you data points and is asking you to make the scatter plot. So they've got 3 little tables here. I'm not sure why it's printed that way, but what it is it's still just 6 points. So you've got an x coordinate and a y coordinate. And to graph our points, we're just going to look at these tables and plot the points. A scatter plot, you will not connect the dots with a line. Like I said, if you've watched that video that I posted for you, you'll see that they are just going to be points, scattered, if you will, out on the graph. So the first point says when x is 30, y is 0.4. So x is 30. We're counting by tens here. You can figure that out if you look at the scale, 20, 40, so halfway between 0 and 20 is 10, so it's really 10, 20, 30, 40. So when x is 30, y is 0.4. So I just came to point x is 30, y is 0.4. So I'm not going to plot these points left to right. I'm just going to plot them as they fit as I read the table. When x is 10, y is 0.5. So x is 10, y is 0.5. I drew my dot. Come over here. When x is 40, y is 0.9. So when x is 40, y is 0.9. When x is 60, y is 0.1. X is 60, y is 0.1. X is 70, y is 0.3. So I came over to 70, and y is 0.3. And the last data point they gave me, x is 110, and y is 0.5. So I came out here to 110 and went to 0.5. Well, actually, I went to 100.5. So I need to fix that, don't I? 110.5. So minus my mess there. There's your scatter plot. So you're going to do the same thing when you come over here and look at question 22. You've got 6 data points to plot for me on that scatter plot. Let's look at 23. 23 said, if you made a scatter plot of the number of miles you drive and the amount of gas in your car, what kind of correlation would you see? The correct answer is B, a negative correlation. And that's because the more miles you drive, if we put miles that I'm driving and gas in my car, does it make sense? I'm going to start with some gas in my car, and as I'm going further and further down the road, I'm using up the gas. I don't know what these numbers are, and I don't really care. Oh, I'm talking about my graph and y'all can't see it. I'm sorry. So I drew my little bootleg graph over here. So if we had miles on the x and gas on the y, when I started my trip, I had some gas in my car. I don't know how much it is. Once I've driven a little bit, I know I have less gas in my car. If I drive a little farther, I have even less. And hopefully, once my gas gets this low, I'm pretty close to a gas station. So as the miles go up, meaning the further I drive, the gas in my car goes down. So that's a negative correlation. So you're going to have to think about the question that they give you in number 24 and see if you think it should be positive, negative, or maybe none at all. Okay, 25. Someone collects some data, because why not, and finds the line of best fit. The equation for the line of best fit is given, so they give me y equals 0.1281x minus 1.075, where x is the person's height in centimeters and y is the person's hand span in centimeters. I'm assuming they mean like wingspan if you held your arms out. What would we predict the hand span to be for someone who is 165 centimeters tall? So they're giving me their height and they want me to estimate, if you will, or predict using this line of best fit their hand span. Well, they told me the height is 165, and they also told me here that x is the person's height. So x is 165, and I want to know what y is, the hand span. So I just plug that in to this equation. So I have 0.1281. Instead of x, I took the x out and I replaced it with the 165 and then minus 1.075. I typed this into my calculator and it told me 20.0615. So 20.0615 centimeters is what we would predict this hand span to be based on our data. It might be, it might not be, but we're going to use that data to make predictions. Again, please go back and watch the video on the scatter plots and the data. If you didn't do that, please do that. Okay, 27, we're almost home free. So question 27 is about bias. If you haven't watched the second video on bias, you need to go up and do that, please. Pause this one, watch that, and come back. So a nurse wants to know the average height of all 8th graders that attend the middle school where she works. So she measures the height of all the girls. Is this sample bias? And explain your answer. Well, yes or no, that's the easy part. Either yes it is or no it isn't. And this one definitely is. So yes, it's biased. And the reason is that it's not representative of the whole 8th grade class. We're making an assumption here, but I don't know about where you went to middle school, but when I went to middle school, we had boys and girls in our class. So it is not representative of the whole 8th grade class if she only measures the girls. Her average won't be accurate, so it won't accurately represent the average height of the 8th graders if she's only measuring the girls. Because boys, we know that boys and girls, their heights aren't always the same. And on average, I would say that boys are taller. Especially at that age. Regardless, it's bias because her sample, it wasn't a representative sample of her population. So 28, you're going to read that story and try to tell me, do you think that that is bias or not? 29 is the last one we're going to do here. You're going to do 30, but I'm going to talk about 29. So 29 says, say that the equation of the best fit line for the graph is given, or the graph given, so if we had a graph or a scatter plot already done for us, is y equals 6x minus 4, where x is the time spent writing a paper and y is the number of pages typed. So what's the slope of the line? And then the hard part is interpreting it in context of the problem, meaning what does it mean in the story? So if we write down our equation, y equals 6x minus 4, this is already in slope-intercept form, mx plus b form. So we know that the 6 is the slope, and it didn't ask this, but I went ahead and labeled it to remind you that you know that the y-intercept is negative 4. So the question asks, what's the slope? So the slope here is 6. And then what does it mean in the context of the story? Well, every time I put in x, so if I put in 1, like she had worked for 1 hour, would be 6 times 1 minus 4. If I put in 2, saying she had worked for 2 hours, it'd be 6 times 2 and then the minus 4. So what's this So the 6 means for every hour, she or you can type 6 pages. Because each time we put in 1 greater for our x, meaning an additional hour, because x is the time we spent writing the paper, the number of pages goes up by 6. So for every hour you type 6 pages. So some of this is common sense, some of this is new pieces of information. Please go back, watch those 2 videos. Email me questions, ask questions. I can't help you if I don't know what you don't understand. We're getting real close to the end here, babies, so help me help you. Email me questions, check your work. Please check STI and see what you're missing. I'd like to get those grades all updated and get those incompletes out of there. Keep going, babies. You got it.